My father lowered himself to join your clan because he admired your grandfather. He was laughed at, called not worth killing. But now I've bested you, Morta, and Clan Knackmore will pay with blood.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
You put the colony at risk over
no.
a grudge you carried across dark space? You really aren't worth killing, Strux.
Oh no.
Get out. Take your goons with you. Now where's the drive core? Hand it over.
Mass Effect Andromeda just released to, I'll be honest, not so stellar reviews. And even though that in itself is pretty sad because, you know, Mass Effect is a really beloved franchise, there's a bigger shadow over this whole debacle that I think needs to be talked about more so than Mass Effect Andromeda having problems itself. Because if I'm correct about this, then this whole situation is going to get a lot worse. Pandemic, Maxis, Mythic, Bullfrog, Black Box, and Westwood. Now I know when I say those words, a lot of you don't understand what I'm talking about, but they're all linked by a very common thread. Electronic Arts. They were all developers under Electronic Arts. Well, actually, more specifically, they were game studios that EA bought and then EA closed. In fact, EA, I believe, holds the record for most shuttered game studios. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure they have the record. I have not heard of a publisher who's had so many closed game studios under their belt. What's more sad about this situation, however, is that that's not even the tip of the iceberg. I can name off more studios. Danger Close, Origin, Phenomic, Playfish, NewFX. There's plenty. There's plenty of game studios that have been closed under EA. I'm sure some of you are confused why I'm bringing this up. And I feel like at this point, after saying all that, I need to explain. EA has a long track record of killing game studios. I'm going to say that bluntly because I feel like I didn't quite get that across before. EA has a great track record of closing game studios. It'll buy them up and then they'll close. Studios with such promise and talent, like Pandemic, like Maxis, are of course no match for EA's corporate structure. And like clockwork, game studios that start off with such immense talent quickly devolve into shadows of their former potential.
But not for me.
I say this, of course, because I wonder if EA is forcing BioWare to go down this same road of all the game studios I mentioned prior. The saddest part about that, of course, is that BioWare has done a relatively well job of distancing themselves from EA's bullshit over the past couple years. Now, I'll say that I think their games have been lower in quality. Of course, I understand why. It's because EA wants to force things into these games that the developers don't want in there, but they still do it because they're obligated to. And I really do. I really wonder if BioWare is going to be added to that list of fallen game studios. You know, just another notch on EA's belt. Another sad story of a developer who tried like hell to make it work, but didn't quite make it. Because, let's be clear, I don't blame BioWare for Andromeda. I blame EA for Andromeda. Like most game companies in the AAA sphere, they release unfinished games, they push those out the door with fervent promises to patch it later. We're gonna fix it later at a later date. I know that this wasn't quite up to snuff, but we'll come back later and we'll make it shine. Or, you know, they don't even fix it at all, because WB Games are a bunch of assholes. It's a troubling thought that a game studio with such a reputation and 22 years of work could be so easily tarnished by a publisher like EA. And of course, that's not really surprising, being as it's happened so many times before. But then again, that's what EA does, isn't it? They bring studios on board, let them do their magic, and then start forcing them to integrate bullshit corporate ideas, like greater focus on online play, DRM, and of course the coveted bullshit of the game industry, microtransactions.
Are you mad, writer?
And of course, the push for bullshit is never something the consumer asks for. No video game player has ever looked at a DRM or a microtransaction and said, that's a good fucking idea. That's a brilliant, you guys really have the market cornered on good ideas, you know? When was the last time you heard of an Xbox fan begging Microsoft to make a console that only works when it's hooked up to the internet? And yeah, by the way, that actually happened. When have you ever seen a gamer on one knee imploring a publisher to sell pre-order bonuses that aren't worth anything? Look at it! Look at it! By the way, the answer is never. That never happens. That's something that no gamer wants, that corporations just throw in there because they know they can bleed more money out of you. But of course, when the con men up high start lowering the boot, you better believe they expect their studios to start incorporating and defending these bad corporate decisions. Even though the game studio does it, and of course they will do it because they're expected to, their loyalty is then rewarded with closures, which brings me back to BioWare. Since being acquired in 2007, BioWare has had relatively 10 years of leeway from EA. But of course, here comes the boot. Another game obviously rushed to a release date and shoved out the door, and another game studio whose reputation has been dragged through the mud for the sole reason of making games under the poisonous EA umbrella. For those of you who still want the game, Andromeda is currently on sale for 27% off. That's how much people don't like it. If you're watching this and you think, you know, even though Tyler says Andromeda is not that great, I think I'll still get it. You can get it cheaper now than when it was released. I recommend buying it now or waiting till they patch it. Because of course they've already announced ongoing patches to fix the game. But let's go ahead and face it. The damage is already done. And once again, history looks to be repeating itself. But of course I hope BioWare doesn't close. I want to get that across right now. I never wish a closer on a game company with as much promise as BioWare has. I, like many people who enjoy BioWare games, do not want that game company to be a statistic. But if it does happen, and again I think it will, I just want you guys to not be surprised it happened. Because, like I've pointed out here, it's probably coming. And truthfully, I hope that in the future, I don't have to make one of these videos as a eulogy. But, in some semi-good news, I think Visceral Games, which is also a developer under EA, is closer to closing than BioWare. So, at least there's that. Well, anyway, guys, I guess one thing that won't be canceled is that video up there in the corner. I'm not sad enough about this video game to not do a shameless plug for a video I did. Click it. It's fun. Bye.